Hi everyone, I'm Mark from Travelshorts, and in this video I'm going to do something a little bit different than I do in my normal videos on this channel. If you're a regular viewer, you might have been following along on our recent epic China trip, where we spent 23 days going all the way from Beijing in the north to Hong Kong in the south. We had so many positive comments about that trip and so many people wanting to know actually how much that cost. In my videos I do try to list all the prices of everything, but I thought I would do one definitive how much it costs video for our epic China trip. So even though you've probably been watching along and you've seen how much individual things cost, I thought by doing this definitive one-shot video of how much things cost, you'll get a good idea of how much we spent on our 23 days in China. All these costs are based on 3 people, so 1 adult, myself, and my 2 children, Matthew and Holly. I'm not going to go into every single transaction, otherwise this video will be hours and hours long. Instead, I'm going to break it down by category. And if you're wondering where I actually am today, this isn't my house. I don't have this kind of wallpaper. I'm actually in a hotel in Bergamo in Italy. So I'm currently in Italy for a couple of days with work. I thought, I'm not really doing that much this evening, so I thought I would record this video to let you guys know how much our epic China trip cost. I have everything on my phone, so excuse me while I keep looking down a lot because it is very difficult to remember all these numbers off by heart. When it comes to recording all these transactions as well, I basically record every single penny I spend. I've recorded it somewhere. So that goes beforehand. So before the trip, everything went into a spreadsheet. So I knew exactly how much all the pre-booked attractions, the visa costs, the airlines, the hotels, all our hotels were booked beforehand. So that all went into a spreadsheet back at home on my computer. Then when we were actually in China, every single time I paid for something, I would list it on an expenses app on my phone. When we did make purchases in China, we predominantly use either Alipay or WeChat. And I would say 95% of the time we used Alipay. And the best thing about using Alipay, in one of the menu options there, it actually saves every single transaction you've done. And so basically I'd just go into there and I could see where I spent for the day, and then that would go into my expenses app. And also, whenever you make a purchase via Alipay, I get a notification on my phone. So I would screenshot that when it came up. So that would give me how much I just spent in Chinese yuan. And because that was linked with my debit card back home, I would actually get a notification from my bank saying how much that was. So it would say however many yuans, and it would automatically convert that to British pounds. So I could see exactly how much I was paying in British pounds as well, which was very, very useful. Okay, I think we should start right at the very, very beginning. And as we were British citizens and we wanted to travel around China for 23 days, we couldn't take advantage of the 144-hour visa-free travel, which that's available to a lot of nationalities around the world, but it does limit you to just one city, well, one region, and only there for 144 hours. So it's basically an extended transit visa. So you fly in, for example, Beijing, you then have to show proof that you're going to be flying out of Beijing, out of China, and then you can stay in Beijing for up to 144 hours. That wasn't suitable at all for us. Also, recently, a number of nationalities have been able to take advantage of a 15-day free visa. Unfortunately, as I'm British, we're currently not in that system, but even if we were, because we were spending 23 days in China, even a 15-day visa wasn't suitable. So the visa we actually went for was a 2-year multi-entry visa. To do that, we needed to fill out quite a lot of forms, if I'm honest, quite a few pages, and each one of us had to fill it individually. So I had to fill one in, and then I had to fill one in on behalf of my son and my daughter. And to complete that visa, you have to show proof of your flights into China and out of China, and also all your accommodation. So I'd pre-booked all our hotels before we went, and all that had to go into one big pack. And then we had to physically visit a Chinese visa office in the UK. The closest one to us was Manchester, so we just went there on a Monday, and we actually had our visas back on the Friday, so it was less than a week. And here's my first cost for this trip. Our total visa costs came to £390. Anyway, that's the visas over with. That's going to be different for everybody, but that was my cost, £390. Next, let's move on to the actual getting to China, shall we? So we flew from Manchester Airport to Beijing, and then we flew out of China from Hong Kong back to Manchester Airport. We flew with British Airways, and the total cost for those flights, so one adult, two children, although Matthew was classed as a teen and then Holly was a child, came to £2,113.96. And we also paid an additional £106.99 for parking at Manchester Airport in their long stay Jet Parks car park. Okay, so now we've made it to China, and this is where the fun begins. Starting with train tickets, we tried to utilize train travel as much as we possibly could in China. There's an amazing high-speed network that goes all around the country. The trains are probably the most advanced trains I've ever traveled on in my life, and they're a reasonable price as well. So we did experience every single class of train. So that's first class, second class, business class, which was very nice. We even had a sleeper train, and we also tried premier class. So that was every single class they had to offer on the Chinese high-speed networks. So in summary, remember, this is for free tickets, one adult and two children for each train fare that we took. So our first train was from Beijing to Xi'an in second class, and the total for that was £157. The next one was from Xi'an to Shanghai, and that was an overnight sleeper train. So I decided to pay for the whole room to ourselves. So we had a private room. So even though there was three of us, I actually paid for 4 bunks, just so we wouldn't be sharing with a stranger. That came to £311.51. Next, we went from Chengdu to Leshan. This was in first class, and that cost £24.44. Then coming back from Leshan back to Chengdu, again, that was in first class, and that cost £24.64. Then we went from Chengdu to Guilin, and that was in business class. So that was if I'm honest, the nicest train journey I've ever taken in my life. Business class on Chinese high-speed trains is like first class on a really nice airline. So we had an amazing seat each to ourselves. It would thoroughly recline to a bed. They had really nice food, but you are paying for that level of comfort and level of service. So for the three of us on business class, the total came to £387. Then we went from Yangshuo to Guilin. That was in premier class, and that cost £22.29. And then our final main train of the journey was from Guilin to Hong Kong in second class, and that was £125. All these train tickets can be purchased via trip.com, and I'll leave a link in the description down below where you can go directly to trip.com's China train booking service. Thoroughly recommended. Oh, you'll probably put a QR code up here as well somewhere. So if you want to scan that QR code, you'll go directly to trip.com's China train booking service. Thoroughly recommended. It was so easy to do, either on their website beforehand, or when I was in China, I was using their app. Really good, highly recommended, no issues at all with trip.com for booking China trains. Just one more thing as well. When we were at Shanghai Airport, we thought we would try out the Shanghai Maglev. So that is the fastest commercial train in the world. So even though we didn't really need to go on it, we just went on it at Shanghai Airport, into the city and then back again, and return tickets cost £17.45. Also with some quite random transportation prices, but I thought I'd add them in here anyway. When we were visiting the Terracotta Warriors, we used some golf carts to drive us around to the different areas, and that came to £6.60. And then we also used golf carts when we're in the Chengdu Panda base to get around, and that came to £9.81. Then finally, once we were in Hong Kong, we purchased Octopus tickets. So Octopus tickets allow you access to the MTR network, which is their transportation network. I already had an Octopus card from a previous trip to Hong Kong, which had credit on it, so I won't include that. But to top up while we were there and also purchased cards for Matthew and Holly. The total we spent on the MTR using Octopus card came to £35.40. And then we also had one internal flight, so I really tried to limit internal flights around China and try to utilize the high-speed train network. But we did fly from Shanghai to Chengdu just because our schedule wouldn't allow us to get a train. The slow train takes up to 3 days, and even the high-speed train was literally an entire day with no sleeper train. And I just didn't want us to be on a train from very early in the morning to very late at night. If there was a sleeper train option, we would have picked that, but unfortunately there wasn't when we were there. So we flew with China Southern Airlines in premium economy, and the total flight cost was £592.50. Then there were the subways in the majority of the cities that we visited. And these were very, very cheap. They basically range from about 30 pence per journey, which is next to nothing compared with subways in a more Western country. So in total, we only spent £12.64 on subways. And then finally, there was taxis. I was actually really surprised at how cheap taxis are in China. I'm going to say they're at least a quarter of the price they are in the UK and most of the European countries I visited and used taxis. And because of this, we actually used them a lot more than I was originally planning to. So for example, when we're in Xi'an, we drove over an hour in a taxi to take us to the Terracotta Warriors. And that came to just over £13. £13 back home would probably get you less than about a 5 to 10 minute journey. So taxis in China, I thoroughly recommend. You don't need to use public transport everywhere you go, especially as I was traveling with kids. It would have been a little bit more awkward, especially when we were going from train stations, carrying all our luggage. Taxis made life so much easier. Total cost for taxis does sound a bit high when you combine it all, but it came to £184.84. So, first grand total of transportation. So my total transportation cost for everything, so that's flights, trains, taxis, subways, everything. If we moved on a vehicle, it went into transportation. So our total transportation cost came to £4,132.07. Next up is accommodation. Over the course of the 23 days while we were traveling around China, we stayed in a total of 10 different hotels, and these range from 3-star to 5-star hotels. The most expensive one by far was the Waldorf Astoria on the Bund in Shanghai, but that was also probably one of the nicest hotel rooms I've ever stayed in. We had a great river view looking over the Pudong skyline. Really nice hotel, really fancy hotel, but we paid for that and we only did stay there one night. So in total, here are the hotels that we stayed in. We spent 2 nights at the Universal Studios Grand Hotel in Beijing. That cost £390.18. Then we spent 2 nights at the Renaissance Wanfujing Beijing. That cost £454.60. We then spent 2 nights at the Holiday Inn Express Xi'an Bell Tower. That was a nice price. That was only £82 for that one. Now here's the expensive one. 1 night in the Waldorf Astoria on the Bund in Shanghai in a Riverview room came to £490 for 1 night. So that's the biggest cost of all our hotels for 1 night. Then we moved over to the Disney's Toy Story Hotel in Shanghai Disneyland. The 2 nights we spent there cost £553. We then did 3 nights at the Crowne Plaza Chengdu City Centre in Chengdu. That cost £316.76. I actually made a little bit of a mistake in that. I didn't really read the small print very much. So I did request a rollaway bed for Holly, my daughter, and they said yes, and I thought it was just a one-off cost for the additional bed for the whole of the trip, but it was every night, and it basically, for that one rollaway bed, almost doubled the price of the hotel. It was almost the same price as if we had 2 rooms, and if I knew that, I probably would have booked 2 rooms with a connecting door, for almost the same price. One room with a rollaway bed. We would have had so much more space to have 2 rooms to share between the 3 of us. But oh well, you'll live and you'll learn. Then we spent one night in the Holiday Inn Express in Guilin city centre. That costs £67 and another really good bargain. And I remember the staff there were very, very friendly. They loved Matthew and Holly. They'd given them free sweets and some free drinks. Very nice staff at that Holiday Inn Express in Guilin. Then we spent 2 nights at the Yangshuo Mountain Retreat in Yangshuo. That was £166. One night at the Salisbury YMCA in Hong Kong, which I think is probably one of the best value hotels in Tsim Sha Tsui. So that's an area in Hong Kong that overlooks Hong Kong Harbour. We had a king suite with a harbour view, and it overlooked the amazing Hong Kong skyline, which is personally my favourite skyline in the world. Like I said, it's probably the best value. It's still quite expensive, but it's still the best value for what it is. And that costs for one night £164.89. And then finally, the last hotel of the entire trip, we spent 3 nights in Disney's Explorers Lodge in Hong Kong Disneyland. Total cost for that was £484.90. So the total for all our accommodation in China came to £3,269.33. I didn't include the sleeper train in that. I included those higher up back at the beginning under transport costs. Even though a sleeper train could be classed as accommodation, I decided to leave that under transportation costs. I think it's time for a drink. I'm getting a bit thirsty now reading out this. So here's some complimentary water that's in the refrigerator here in my hotel in Bergamo. Right, next up is attractions and activities. So basically, this is all the fun stuff that we got up to while we're in China. I'm going to do 2 categories of attractions and activities. I'm going to split them between theme park and non-theme park, and you see why I'm doing that in a minute. Theme parks are quite big ticket items and quite expensive. And I understand a lot of you guys are probably not going to China to go to the theme parks. Okay, starting with non-theme park items, I won't break it down into every single activity or attraction we visited and that cost, because that we did so many, it would take a long time to read them all out. But here's some examples. So the Great Wall of China, the Temple of Heaven, the Chengdu Panda Research Base, the Shan Giant Buddha, the Terracotta Warriors, all those kind of stereotypical attractions you need to visit while you're in China and Hong Kong. Total for all non-theme park attractions and activities came to £1,255.29. If you've been following along, watching all our videos from our epic China trip, you can see just how many activities and attractions we visited. Many per day. So I'm going to estimate we must have done at least 80 or 90 different attractions over the space of 23 days, even maybe going as far as 100. If I look at my spreadsheet, I would know everyone to the nth detail, but just to summarize, all non-theme parks activities came to £1,255.29. Then it's the theme park. So the first one that we went to was Universal Studios in Beijing. We paid £215.18 for a 2-day pass to enter the studios. We then paid an additional £337.96 for a Universal Express pass. So that allowed us to jump the queue on the majority of the rides. I think it was up to 14 rides that the Universal Express pass allowed us to jump the line on. And if you're only there for a short period of time, I think that's money well spent. So you get to go on all the rides you want to go on. So the total cost of Universal Studios, so tickets and the Express Pass, came to £553.14. Next park we went to was Shanghai Disneyland in Shanghai. We paid £312.04 for a 2-day park tickets, and then we spent another further £370.49 for a Premier Access Pass. Premier Access is what they call what FastPass used to be. So that allowed us to jump the line on selected rides. Unfortunately, it's not all the rides in the park. So we then spent an additional £61.18 for Premier Access tickets for the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train roller coaster. So the total for Shanghai Disneyland came to £743.71. And finally, the last theme park of our trip was Hong Kong Disneyland. Our 2-day tickets came to £306.51. And then we spent an extra £251.67 for Premier Access tickets to selected rides, same as like the Shanghai Disneyland one. We still then needed to spend £39.48 to go on the Frozen ride there, the Oaken Sleds. So that's a Frozen themed roller coaster. And then the same amount again, so another £39.48 for Premier Access tickets to the Frozen Ever After ride. And I would highly recommend the Frozen Ever After ride. That was a really good ride, a lot better than the Frozen Oaken Sleds. Anyway, that brings our total for Hong Kong Disneyland to £637.14. So in total, just for theme parks, we spent £1,933.99, and £1,082.55 of that was just to jump lines via either the Universal Express Pass or the Disney's Premier Access Pass. So that's, when you look at these numbers, you think, oh my, over £1,000 just to jump the lines. So in total, for all attractions and activities, so that's non-theme park and theme park, we spent £3,189.28 on attractions and activities. I think I need another drink after that total, to be honest. So this is S. Antonio Green, Lil Planeta Nelly Nostra Mani, natural spring water. Before I go any further in this video as well, I think it's a good time to mention that I actually wrote a travel guide to China. It basically contains all our tips, tricks, where we stayed, where we purchased our tickets from, how to use a VPN, how to use eSIMs, how to use Alipay, how to use WeChat. All the hotels we stayed in are in there. All the activities we use and where we purchase our tickets from it are in there, and it's totally free. I won't ask you for anything. You basically just click on the link down below and go straight to my Google Drive and download the PDF. It's almost 30 pages long, all the things that we learned on our trip, because when we did go to China, there was very little information out, well, recent information out there. Everything was kind of pre-2020, and so much had changed in China over those years from 2020 to 2024 when we went. For one thing, cash is no longer used pretty much. It's a cashless society. Everything's digital. Everything is via your mobile phone now. Where you could previously turn up and get a ticket to go to an attraction, now you have to pre-book in advance. So this guidebook has all the links where you can pre-book all your attraction tickets before you go. All the hotels we stayed in, like I said, totally free. I won't even ask you for your email. You can just literally click the link down below and download it, or scan this QR code over here somewhere. So if you are planning a trip to China, I do recommend you either just download it, have a look at it and see what you think. From the feedback I've been getting so far, it has been really, really useful for people, and I hope it's useful for you guys as well. Next up is food and drink. Obviously, over 23 days, we needed to eat, we needed to drink. And I have again listed every single thing in my expenses app, so I know exactly how much everything cost and how much per day we were spending on food. We weren't doing anything really extravagant. We had a few nice meals, so that's Peking duck in Beijing, for example, or a traditional hot pot in Chengdu. but most of the time we'd just go for quite simple meals. We'd even go to McDonald's a couple of times, if I'm honest, because Holly, my daughter's pretty fussy, and so we know she would eat something in McDonald's. Most of the hotels we stayed in offered breakfasts as part of the package, so the breakfast cost was very small, but for the hotels that didn't offer breakfast, we spent a total of £15.70. Then for lunch, we spent a total of £457 on lunches. For dinners, that was actually a bit less than lunches, so that came to £437.42 for dinners. We spent £283.88 on snacks, and then finally, just if we were having a drink somewhere, that came to £49.60 for drinks. Obviously, if we had drinks with our meals, that would be included in the lunch or dinner's cost. That brings our food and drinks total to £1,243.59, which for 3 people for 23 days, I think that was quite reasonable, if I'm honest. Then finally, the miscellaneous items that don't fit into the other categories. Okay, starting with souvenirs. We tried to get some little gifts from everywhere we would go to remember the holiday, remember the trip. So this could be anything from a Harry Potter wand in Universal Studios to we were collecting commemorative little coins from most attractions we went to. Disney pins, for example. In total, our souvenir costs came to £146.85. When we were visiting the Terracotta Warriors in Xi'an, we had an audio guide, so the 3 of us had audio guides. That came to £11.19. One thing I didn't realize is when you're swimming in hotel swimming pools in China, you need to wear a swimming cap to, I guess, stop your hair coming out and blocking the filters. Didn't realize that. So in the first hotel swimming pool we went to, which was the Renaissance Wangfu Jing in Beijing, we needed to buy swimming caps, and that came to £9.32. Okay, now on the digital side of things, most people are aware of the Great Firewall of China. So we did have a VPN. I used Astral VPN because it had really great reviews for being used in China. Lots of the VPN services that you see promoted by YouTubers on YouTube, I won't name them, but they don't really work very well in China. China is very strict when it comes to VPNs. So when I went, Astral VPN was flawless. We used them when we were connected to Wi-Fi networks in hotels, and the total cost of that was, let me find it here, is £23. So I took out a month subscription for £23, which I know that's not anywhere near the cheapest VPN out there, but it is guaranteed. At least when I went, it was guaranteed to work in China, so I was happy paying more than the lower cost alternatives. But when we were traveling around China, so when we were not in the hotel using the Wi-Fi of the hotel, we used Airalo as an eSIM. So I just had an eSIM on my Apple iPhone. Thoroughly recommend it. So if you want to use data on your phone, and you will need to use data on your phone in China. In the old days, you would buy a data SIM card and put that on your phone, but by having a different SIM in your phone compared with your regular one, you then are not able to receive calls to your phone number. With eSIMs now, you can have an eSIM as well as your regular SIM in your phone, and the eSIM can just be used for data. Really useful. I've used Airalo before now. Last year when I was in Hong Kong, I used Airalo eSIM there. Flawless, worked all the time. And you do need to use data if you're using maps. If you're using Alipay or WeChat, that needs a data connection as well. And the best thing about using an eSIM, that also gets around the Great Firewall of China. So if you want to use Instagram, if you want to use Facebook, if you want to use Google, if you want to use WhatsApp, you will need either a VPN or an eSIM. The eSIM has an inbuilt VPN, so it tricks the I guess, the Chinese phone network to thinking you're dialing in from outside of China. So you are able to use all those banned services in China, and that's what we did on a daily basis. And they're also really reasonable costs as well. So for China, we paid £19 for our Airalo eSIM. I don't recall off the top of my head how many gigabytes that gives us of data, but you can have a look on their website. In fact, there's a link down below for Airalo, and it's probably maybe a QR code here as well to take you to the Airalo website. And then in Hong Kong, we spent £10 for the eSIM for Hong Kong. And the very nice people at Airalo have given me a referral code to give all you guys watching this now. So if you go onto Airalo and you check out and you use the promo code MARK6579, that's MARK6579, you'll get $3 off your first purchase. Like I said, I highly recommend Airalo as your eSIM if you're traveling to China or anywhere in the world as well. They have packages for basically every country on earth. So that brings our total for miscellaneous items to £219.36. Right, we've come to the end of this video. This is how much I spent for our 23 days epic China trip for 3 people, 1 adult, myself, my 2 children, Matthew and Holly. The total cost for every single penny I spent on our China trip came to £12,443.63, which when you look at that big number, that is quite eye-watering. I didn't realize I spent that much until I tallied it all up. I did think it was between 10, probably 11, even up to £11,500 it cost. But yeah, £12,443.63. But this holiday wasn't a spur of the moment thing. We have actually been planning it for years. We originally planned to go to China back in 2021. We had everything booked. Then obviously everybody watching this probably knows what happened in 2020. 2021 came along, China still wasn't open yet. So I rebooked everything for 2022. China still wasn't open yet. I decided to postpone it from 2023 because China was just starting to open at the tail end of 2023, but I didn't want to be one of the first people to go there just in case there were any issues. So we waited to 2024, which is when we spent our 23 days going all the way through the country in the north, from Beijing to Xi'an to Shanghai to Chengdu to Guilin. No, from Chengdu to Lashan, back to Chengdu, from Chengdu to Guilin, from Guilin to Yangshuo, from Yangshuo back to Guilin, and from Guilin all the way to Hong Kong, which is our final place we visited on this epic China trip. And it was an absolutely amazing trip. All 3 of us absolutely loved it. So we loved it so much, I'm happy that we paid that 12. I would have liked it to be less than 12,000, obviously, and you can go there for a lot cheaper than what we paid. But I wanted it to be an experience of a lifetime, not just for me, but my 2 children. And I wanted to not cut corners. Everything we wanted to do, everywhere we wanted to stay, we did it. And I'm happy that we did do that. It's a lot of money, but it was worthwhile for us. The battery on my camera just ran out then, so I hope I don't have to re-record the last half an hour of this talk to camera, but I'm going to continue from where I left off, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that all that was saved before the battery ran out. But the next part that I was going to talk about was, I just wanted to point out that I paid for every single penny of this holiday. I wasn't sponsored by anybody. I wasn't paid by the Chinese government. I get a lot of weird comments on these Chinese videos saying I must have been paid by the Chinese government to help talk about the lie about China. I'm being filmed on a green screen. They could see our handlers. That is just an utter load of nonsense. Every single penny of this trip was paid for by myself, not sponsored by anyone. And all those comments where people are saying I must be paid by the CCP, they just get deleted. I moderate every single comment on my channel before they get published. I have to do that because I travel with my children. There's some real weirdos out there, and there's some not very nice comments that we get because I'm with my children. They just literally either get reported or deleted straight away. So none of you guys ever see the bad comments. If anybody's rude to a certain nationality, if anybody has political views, none of that gets published on my channel. This is a family travel channel. It's for enjoying travel with my children. Anything else, I don't want to hear about it, if I'm honest. But yeah, every single penny of this trip I paid for myself. And personally, I don't agree with those YouTubers that are always begging for money, either via Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee, Super Chats, channel memberships. I don't see why they should be paid by people like us to go and travel and enjoy themselves. I really don't. I've looked at some Patreon pages for channel sizes around a similar size as mine, and they're actually getting paid just via Patreon by people like you doing donations every single month. Like a good middle management salary in a multinational company. They're getting paid just from basically begging and scrounging from from people like you who pay them every month. And I really don't agree with that. I don't agree that people should pay me for me to go on holiday and enjoy myself. So I will never ask for donations via Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee or anything like that. It kind of goes against everything I believe in. I make these YouTube videos for fun, not for profit. Um, Lately, some people have actually been sending me super chat, which I didn't even know I could receive, things like that. So I do thank you guys very much to do that, but I don't need that. And in fact, if you read the comments, not the comments, the description in my videos, I say this down below. I make these videos for fun, not for profit. And I have a link to the charity for the Motor Neuron Disease Association, otherwise known as ALS for the majority of you, probably if you live in the States. But the Motor Neuron Disease Association is very close to my heart. It's a charity I've supported for many years. So if you feel like you do want to donate for watching my videos, please don't donate that to me. I don't want your money. I like money, but I never agree with people giving me money for making these videos, which I love doing. So there is a link down there on a Just Giving page, which takes you to the Just Giving page on the Motor Neuron Disease Association charity. So if you donate via that, then the Motor Neuron Disease Association will get that donation, and that helps with the care of people either suffering from motor neuron disease, ALS, for helping promote ALS, for helping for carers, for support activities. And in fact, those recent super chats that I said I've received, I've actually matched those donations and added a little bit extra and donated that money I received to the Motor Neuron Disease Association via that Just Giving link below, and actually just credited the person who made those donations. So if you guys have been making those donations to me via super chat, thank you so much. But please, anybody in the future who feels like they do want to give some money in my direction, please don't send that to me. Please send that to charity. They can do so much more with it than I would do. If I was keeping that money, it would just be spent, I don't know, on my weekly shop, for example. I don't need to do that. Please think about donating it to charity or just keeping it yourself. You've worked hard for your money. You don't need to give it to people like me, to YouTubers who go out there and enjoy themselves, enjoy your own money. But if you do feel like you do want to give something, to people or to me, please give it to charity instead. It'd be much more worthwhile than giving it to me. Thank you for that. Like I said, I really don't agree with people begging on Patreon. Please give me money so I can carry on traveling. Yeah, it just goes against what I believe in. Charity, people who are really in need should have the money more than YouTubers who want to go and have a jolly holiday somewhere. Well, I think I'm actually going to finish this video here. I realize this isn't anything like my usual travel videos that I do. I don't like doing talking heads to the cameras like this. You probably notice even when I'm vlogging, I am uncomfortable talking to the camera in public, especially when people are watching me. If I'm in a crowded room, but I do want to talk to you guys. It is strange vlogging in public. Even in a hotel room that I'm in now in Bergamo, I'm by myself. I fluff these lines so many times. I've got it all written down on my phone like a mini script, but I still don't enjoy talking directly to the camera. It's weird. It's not what I enjoy doing. But I hope that you have found this video interesting. My China travel series has been really, really popular. Like I said, I've had so many new subscribers and so many new subscribers from China as well. So a big shout out to all my new subscribers from all over the world who have recently subscribed to me due to these Chinese videos. It is really appreciated that you're following along on our adventures. Really appreciated. But I think I'm going to end this video here. So normally it's Holly who does our outro, but she's not here. Like I said, I'm in Bergamo in Italy with work at the moment. She's back home. Her and Matthew are back home. So I'm going to do the outro. So if you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. It is really appreciated. And just let me know actually in the comments what you think about this format of video. So would you like me to do something like this after every big trip? Just to get a bit more information what I thought of the trip rather than just the daily vlogs. So if you found this video interesting and you would like to see more talking heads like this to the camera, me to the camera, talking about our trip, how much things cost, please leave a comment down below, down there somewhere. And I do, like I say, I read every comment, and if it's a nice comment, it gets published. If it's a weird comment, it gets deleted. But again, thank you so much for watching this video. I do my usual spiel now. So if you are new here, my name's Mark, and I normally travel with my daughter Holly and son Matthew, and we make travel and theme park videos from around the world. And if you have liked what you've seen in this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have made it to the end of this video, and I hope you did find it useful if you are planning your trip to China. So thanks again. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.